Hi everyone, I'm Seamus.
I'm Josh.
I'm Rootskarn.
I'm Chris.
I'm Bay.
And we're playing Life is Strange.
Life is kind of strange, Seamus.
Yeah. This is
It's
pretty.
one of those game titles where you have absolutely no idea what the hell you're getting into because it doesn't express much of an opinion. Just the idea that the sum total of human experience is unusual in comparison to...
It's one of those games where you don't know what the hell you're getting into either.
Right. If it wasn't for a couple absolutely blatant spoilers that I stumbled over before starting this, I would have had absolutely no idea what the premise was. You know, it's one of those games where you could talk about what the game is about without even really getting into some of the main conceits of the universe and the main mechanics. Which is actually really exciting.
So this is an episodic game a la Telltale's stuff, but
Not
in a lot of ways
correct?
better than what Telltale does.
Yeah.
Well,
This is
that's
Don't
not
Nod.
a terribly controversial statement these days.
What else did Don't Nod make? They made something else significant before this.
Remember Me.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ironically, Seamus did
And
not remember
don't
it
shake
because
your
nobody
head.
could.
All right, let's hit the new
I
game
felt
button
bad
here.
for not liking. I felt bad for not liking Remember Me, but that's how it goes sometimes. But this game, I was a lot warmer to. Although just because it is episodic, I just could never play through it. I couldn't keep up with the episodes, and then I felt like I'd missed the whole thing. So I'm going in semi-blind. I've played part of it and had most of it spoiled for me, just talking with friends. But I haven't actually played all the way through.
I played the first episode. Haven't gotten any further.
So-
Liking it so far.
I played the game as it came out, each episode as it came out, and that was a really interesting way to experience it because this game does some shit, and I had like 2 months between each of them to like go, what the fuck? And I wonder how different that is just playing it all at once now.
And Bay, how many times have you played through this?
I just went on my 7th playthrough.
And where is
Holy shit! You might have
There
played
aren't
this
a
game
whole
more
lot
than
of
any of us
games
have
like
ever
this.
played a game we've done for spoiler warning. Like I did Night Zone probably 3 times, and I think that might be my record.
I don't know. Half-Life 2, I played that one probably more than 7 times, but over a lot more than 7 years. Over a lot more than
That's
1 year. Yeah. Now, how long until we get the pistol?
I feel like
About 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler!
so I really like the game, and I don't want to start on like negative stuff, but I do feel like in slightly more forward-looking hands, this would be establishing a lot of narrative motifs, and it kind of is, but also isn't. It's mostly just foreshadowing.
I was actually going to
Yeah.
say that having liked every other part of this episode, I thought that this intro was kind of boring. This doesn't really tell us anything about the character or about the setting
payoff
or the...
for this.
Of course,
but-
there's payoff. I mean, even by the end of the first episode, you can see why
Holy shit.
this scene is important. But honestly, they could have left this for until the very end of the episode. I don't know why. I mean, well, maybe there is a reason, but just in terms of experience, having this be the very beginning is... I kind of actually compare it to the beginning of Alan Wake, where the beginning of that game I thought was kind of weak.
That was so surreal.
Famously called film,
I feel like it kind of takes away from the shock
But he could
in the
be talking
later
about
moment with
photography,
Chloe
as
in
he
this
likely
first
was.
Okay.
original
I'm in class.
setup. I
Everything's
feel like
cool.
without that original
I'm
storm
okay.
scene, there would have been a
The
lot,
shadow.
a
From
lot more
color
build up to
To
it.
chiaroscuro.
It's clear that they
Now,
felt the need to begin the
can
game
you
with some
give me an
spectacle
example of
before
a
cutting to like the
photographer who
classroom
perfectly
drama
captured
that
the human condition in
occupies
black
you know
and white?
most of
Fall
Life
asleep.
is Strange's story.
That sure
But
didn't feel
I
like
don't
a
know. I
dream.
think that was a bad instinct.
Weird.
Diane Arbus.
Maybe they wanted
you
to.
go,
They wanted to
Victoria.
assure you, hey,
Why
this is a
Arbus?
supernatural story.
Because of her
This
images
is
of
going to get
hopeless
crazy
faces.
later. This
You
isn't
feel like
just
totally
a teen
haunted by the
drama.
eyes of-
Look at
They,
this
they,
crap.
they, it
How
wasn't
can
so
I
much
show
to
this to
foreshadow
Mr.
story as
Jefferson?
to establish genre.
I can hear the class laughing at
So
me
here's
now.
here's a question I have. for people real quick, maybe.
Those sad
Who else
mothers
played
and
this with
children.
mouse and keyboard?
She saw humanity as tortured,
I
right?
did.
I did.
And frankly, it's bullshit.
Well,
Can't
I
believe
did
I
on
still have this
half my
pencil
playthroughs.
case. I should
Sorry, that was
upgrade to
Seamus
the
did play with
21st
mouse and keyboard. Anybody else?
century. I like it old school.
Yes.
And capture you in a moment
Okay.
of desperation.
I haven't
Anyway,
kept
I'm
up
sorry,
with
Chris.
my
Actually,
journal
you
as
sound
much
like you're
as I
about to
should.
say something.
Anybody else?
No,
look
I was
at
just going to
this?
say that
What would you think?
this scene here does more to establish themes and characters than anything in the opening of the game. That opening with the rain is really like 10 minutes or 5 minutes of foreshadowing. This scene sets up actual themes, actual characters, and does some real legwork.
little camera bag is bad
I
if it's
like
still
this
pictures.
part of the opening way more than the thundery storm action bit a lot.
She had a brilliant eye.
Because
I
like
found
Yeah,
myself really
could've
wishing
taken
her
another
notebook
approach.
had more realistic
I have to
doodling.
admit, I'm not a big fan of her work.
More
prefer-
realistic
They
in the
have very
sense
video
of like
game-
more verisimilitude for her being
Me
a
too.
teenager, and
I
less
believe Max
realism
has
in the
taken what you
sense
kids
of
call
like
a
being like less
selfie.
scrupulously
A dumb word
accurate
for a
rules.
wonderful photographic tradition. And Max.
I just
Has a gift.
her scrapbook or
Of course,
her
as you all
notebook
know,
is
the
set
photo
kind of like a
portrait has been
scrapbook. It's
popular
got
since the early
pictures and
1800s.
doodles and writing
Your
on every
generation was not
single
the first to
page.
use
It would make a
images
lot
for
more sense if some
selfie
pages were less
expression.
doodled on, and
Sorry.
certainly less
I couldn't
pictures.
resist.
Nobody has an hour a
point
day to work
remains
on
that
their
the
notebook, and if
portraiture
they
has
do,
all
they need
Yeah,
something
the-
else to
aspects of art
do.
and
The
photography
doodles
first,
themselves
as
also
long as it's
look
been around.
like an art director went
Now,
and
Max,
drew what they
Since
think
you captured our
someone would
interest and
do.
clearly want to join the conversation.
So-
So now that we've-
please tell us the
So
name
now
of
we've
the
taken a
process that
selfie
gave
in the
birth.
first like
I wish they
15
had had like
minutes of the
actual
game
notebook doodles.
as a necessary plot action. Do we want to talk about the elephant in the
You're
room, where a
asking
lot of
me?
people really hate this game,
Let me think.
like viscerally?
You either know this or
Oh,
not.
yeah.
hates the game.
Is there anybody here
I
who
did
knows
not know
their
this.
stuff?
Louis Daguerre was a French
Okay,
painter
I
who
think it's the
created
viewpoint.
daguerreotypes, a
It's
process
very
that gave
difficult for
portraits a
some
sharp,
people to sort of
reflective style
occupy
like
the
a mirror.
viewpoint of this
Now
sort of
you're
teen girl
totally stuck in
character.
the retro zone.
This is something I've seen actually more in person
Very
than on
good,
the
Victoria.
internet, I would say. Although I
Daguerrean
have
process
seen it here and
brought
there.
out fine detail in people's faces.
I have
that's
a really
weird.
hard time
I still have this
occupying the
pencil case.
viewpoint of
I
Call
should
of
upgrade to
Duty.
the 21st century.
right?
I like
Well,
it
I
old
just-
school.
I
You can
had trouble
find out
connecting
all
with
about
her too, just
in your
because I
textbook, or even
my
online.
instincts were always different from how she was. Like I was
And guys, don't
harkening
forget
back
the
to
deadline
my
to submit a
teen
photo
years,
in the Everyday
and
Heroes contest.
well,
I'll
somebody
fly out
acted
with the
like
winner
this.
to
This is
San
what I want to
Francisco,
do, and they
where
were
you'll
never
be
any
feted by the
for
art
options,
world.
and I was
It's
like
great
constantly
exposure, and it can
frustrated
kickstart a career in photography.
because she
So
was
Stella,
different from me. But
Melissa,
I mean,
get
that's
it
not really a
together.
point against the
Taylor,
game. It
don't
was
hide.
just
I'm still waiting for your
I don't
entry
know
too,
that
and yes,
that's
Max,
any
I
harder
see you
to get
pretending not to
into
see.
than any other. You know, is it harder to be her than the Prince of Persia?
I mean,
Well,
really,
this
Yeah,
game also drew a
exactly.
lot of like flack for the
Victoria
dialogue.
doesn't waste a second kissing ass.
A lot of people said like,
The
"Oh, this
dialogue
dialogue
is
sounds
pretty
Which is
ridiculous."
fair.
And, but then there were also a lot of people who were like, "Oh no, this is actually
I
really
should have
like."
known. She'll
I was
have
in high
better
school a
equipment
couple
than
years ago, and this
Blackwell.
is how we talked. So I don't know.
the dialogue has highs and lows, and the lows are really low, and the highs are really
Yeah.
high.
Even her school books are gift wrapped.
Yup.
I
can't
had trouble
believe she
relating
moved
to
on from
Max
your
only
class.
insofar
What is
as
she,
she's
15
mostly a
years old?
cipher for the player.
And people
There's
laugh.
not too much of her.
Obviously, Blackwell
Part of the
spent
problem being
bank
that she
on
is,
computer seats.
you know, it's a coming of
like
age
somebody
story
was
for
already
her, so
working
she
on
doesn't know
this.
who she is.
Cool.
So if you're trying to role play as somebody who doesn't know who they are, that's awkward, and the game never really resolves
She
that.
looks so
It's
sad
her
and
coming of
quiet
age story, and
today.
by the end, she knows who she is,
thing.
but I don't think the player ever gets to
So
have a say in
we're
that,
already
and it feels
pretty
weird.
quickly seeing what's sort of going on here with our character in this setting. You know, it's we're in this really,
Can't help but
really
embarrass you
high
for
quality academy,
sucks
which
to
is
be
mostly
dragged
full
into
of
the
privileged
spotlight.
students.
Unless you're
And
Victoria.
there's a
She's got
lot of
nothing on
petty
you, Max.
teenage drama going
Well,
on.
I should get
Like
going.
really bitter,
Yeah, me
vicious,
too.
petty teenage
Talk to you
drama.
later.
Sure.
Well, I assumed this was supposed to be a regular high school, and it was just
Let's
too
talk
nice.
later,
The way
Max.
you know stuff is often too nice in
Now I
movies
wish
and
I
TV
wouldn't
and
have
whatever.
read this.
So
No, 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 no. This is definitely
So, I
like
mean,
a privileged high school. It has dormitories.
It's a private art school that's basically like a pre-college thing.
Yeah, no, this place is supposed to be way fancier than like a regular high school. Even if you go around here and like look at all the equipment, she's like, "Wow, this equipment is like so fancy."
Every time I look at Victoria, I feel like she's talking
She goes
smack
on and
about
on
me.
about how the school must cost a
Excuse
ton,
me.
or how the school
Mr.
does
Jefferson,
cost a
can I talk
ton,
to you
or
for a moment?
how
Yes.
much they spend on
Excuse
everything.
you.
It's
No,
clear
Victoria.
that they're trying to
Excuse
play up
us.
just how fancy
I'd never
the
let
school
one of
is.
photography's
And just
future
how
stars
privileged
avoid
most of the
handing
students
in a
are.
picture.
But I guess my confusion, and I'll admit I haven't played through it all, and I don't remember most of what I did play. But I never got the feeling that she was particularly affluent. In fact, they kind of had this lower middle class vibe that I got from her family. And so
Max's family is.
Right? But
Max's family
No,
is really
I kind of got
fever to take images.
I got the feeling that Max wasn't as well off either, and it might be partially her
Right, she got like
manner.
a sponsorship or something.
Yeah, that's actually kind of in her notebook. Which actually, I will say that one slight weakness of this game is that you really need to read that notebook to sort of get a head start on this.
Yeah.
And I, even as a games writer, I always say that, like, if there's like an in-game document that you need to read to understand what's going on, that's probably something you should have done differently.
Whoa. Mr. Jefferson is not messing around with that monster.
I always miss that
We
stuff.
paid 20 grand for that
I have
camera.
played through the
I
game
bet he gets
7
pristine.
times, and I haven't even read her
Even in
entire
pictures,
notebook because
the forest
my
around
dyslexia
here
gets in the
always
way,
looks
and I'm just like, no,
mysterious.
too many words. I'm sure I'll get it.
So
Man,
I played
he
through the
even
game
has the
twice
best
and
plasma
edited
HDTV
video of
for
my
a fast monitor.
playthroughs, and
Can't
only
wait to watch
in the
some
beginning of this scene did I
documentaries on this
realize
bad
that her
boy.
shirt is a pun that says Jane Doe.
How cute I looked yet.
I was about to.
I feel like you have to pass
You always
Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, there's a lot of t-shirts like that. That is a 100% accurate t-shirt. It's a joke that has a visual pun that is completely insipid and unrelated to anything. That's pretty much the fashion
No,
these days.
It's thematic
I need
because
serious time out
the
in the
deer is sort of her motif, right? Like
Splash
that
water
follows
on my
her
Yeah.
through the
Make sure I don't
thing.
Yeah.
Deer is literally her
Totally
spirit
different.
animal, maybe.
hate that class. It's so fucking boring.
They
no,
hit
it's
the
Alright,
best
so this is the
part
part where we
with the
cross our
character.
fingers and hope that at no point we get, like, DMCA stuff on YouTube for all the pop songs that are in this game.
I don't expect us to get a full-on DMCA. We probably will have ads in front of these videos by the people that own the
Yeah.
music rights. This is kind of unavoidable once we turn off the music, but we don't want to do that because this music's really good.
Yeah.
They hint strongly
Also-
that it is her spirit animal through the janitor. If you look throughout the game, squirrels
These
kind of
missing
follow you
persons
everywhere, and he
popping
talks
up
strongly
everywhere.
about squirrels telling him things. Often you find squirrels just kind of
should've
watching
just
what Max
mentioned
is doing and keeping up with her.
You know, so this is real talk, and
think
we'll
it's
have plenty of time to talk about this later, but
She's such a
I actually
slave
find
to
it
Taylor
very
and
hard when this game sort of deals with bullying, because I think that, you know, they get it right
Alyssa
mostly.
is always texting, but she doesn't
Like,
hang out with
what they
them.
depict is
Evan
kind of
doesn't say much to
extreme,
me,
but it's pretty
his photos
pretty
are very
accurate
cool.
to how, you know, this actually happens in, like, the modern social media age. And, you know, when
love
it
that
does
picture of
get
Mom and
bad,
Dad.
and when, you know, people
Hello,
do get hurt,
Jack.
this is how it happens.
Andy, you look totally
And
fabulous.
it just,
as usual.
you know, having dealt with, you know, bullying myself, but also just, you know, having empathy for the characters involved, you know, is,
Stella is always deep in her notes.
I got really
didn't
angry
come to Blackwell
while
to
playing
mess
this,
around.
in a way that it wanted me to, but
Dana's
still,
on my floor,
it got emotionally
She's such
draining
an
at points.
archetypal gorgeous cheerleader. That's Dana talking to, I think his name is Justin.
I will never get over the fact that I spent so much time talking to every single character and finding out things about them and making sure that I kept up with them and helped them at every given point, and it had no impact on my later game.
Andy's a Vortex
Oh,
Club member.
come on.
Well, but it's not really
There
a game
wasn't
about
even
that,
a comment
right?
later.
But then why is it
I
in
was
there?
really excited
Missed
about the
Poetry
world
Jam tryouts,
exploring.
and I did not steal that.
To
I
be
mean,
part of the
I'm sorry,
world.
wait, can actually, Rachel, can you clarify what exactly you did?
There were things like, I forget their names right
Good thing I
now.
left my egg at home.
There were the girls that follow Victoria around, and you can talk to each of them and, you know, find out about their problems and
You should
comfort
just call it
them.
a sugar
I'm not
machine.
saying I wanted it to
That would be
heavily
awesome if you
impact
put
my
money in there and a bag of
my
sugar
game
comes
and,
out.
you know, impact the ending and change everything. I just
Wait,
kind of
wait,
wanted
wait,
to
Josh.
see a wink and a nod to it.
Yo.
Josh, can you actually go back and look at that vending machine real quick? I want to point something
Yeah.
out. No, it's the other one. The snack machine.
Oh.
So they did a really
Snack
good
machine.
job here. If you look up some like Walker and or Lay's potato chips, they did a really good job at like implying what a Lay's potato chip, like regular barbecue, looks like. without actually depicting it to the point where they could get a lawsuit for use of other intellectual property. That's a really,
art style in this
really
game is really
great.
really solid.
Yeah, that's really solid right there.
It's like one notch above what Telltale does with their sort of painterly abstraction. It's still painterly, but it's a little bit higher verisimilitude than what and higher fidelity than what Telltale does. It works really well for what the game does. Other than the faces are still a little weird at times.
It definitely feels this.
Yay, Halloween, my favorite time of year.
Frankly, it actually comes off as a little bit more of a strong art direction than Telltale's efforts have been. You know, it's not that their games don't look good, but you know, only a couple games that I really feel that their style gelled super well with the gameplay.
God, Samuel is such a weird.
Well, yeah, a lot of their licenses just don't even like the Game of Thrones one. Probably is one of the worst offenders. Law and Order.
There's something really jarring about watching Ramsay Bolton pull Telltale faces.
There's a lot of fucking foreshadowing going on these note boards here.
Yeah. No, I love this entire opening sequence. I love from the time everything after the lighthouse falls on Max. I love all of this stuff. This is really good exposition without being heavy-handed about it, laying down the groundwork for themes, laying down the groundwork for ideas, and it's all largely skippable if you just want to go straight to the meat of the story.
There's Juliet.
I really like a lot of what they're doing here.
Vortex Club disciple.
All right, are we ready for the gripping gameplay segment that is the bathroom?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Turbo shit, motherfuckers.
Nobody can see my meltdown, except for me.
It also does a reasonably good job. Okay, so not every game can do this, or every form of art can do this, but you know, there is such a thing as like the unique stresses of being a teenager in high school, and it's easy to kind of get lost in the much more acute stresses of being an adult who's not in high school, and forget that, you know, when you're in that context, it is pretty intense and hard to deal with. And this game gets that across reasonably well, I'd say.
Fuck you. Just relax. Stop torturing yourself. You have a gift.
So I do think they could have sold Max's self-doubt a little bit more strongly, because that's really the core of her. The core of her coming-of-age story is her overcoming self-doubt and becoming sort of, I don't want to say empowered, because that's an overused and cliched phrase, but certainly somebody who knows who she is, rather than this self-doubting person that doesn't even think she can do photography. And they set it up, but so much of the game quickly pushes that aside in favor of plot stuff.
Thanks. This poster must drive people to have sex.
So this is that's another bit of another bit of foreshadowing. Has that happened yet? That hasn't happened yet.
No.
Yeah, they don't explicitly. Well, okay, yeah, they don't explicitly say anything about Kate. But it's like, it's really clear what's happening, where everybody's like slut-shaming Kate, and she's very religious and very quiet, and she's not talking to anyone. And then, like, there's a reference in that note that you can pick up at the beginning about, like, you know, we all enjoyed your porn movie. Like, nobody has to discuss any of the details at this point. It's the whole story just is...
You're the boss.
The whole story is in these details.
So what do you want?
I hope you check the perimeter, as my step-ass would say. Now, let's talk business.
And here we have the reason that I probably couldn't take the protagonist of Horizon super seriously.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah, this is Ashley Burch.
You've been pumping drugs and shit to kids around here.
Is this Ashley Burch? Okay.
This is.
Man,
wow.
Doing what I would consider a much more Ashley Burch voice than Horizon.
Aloy.
Nathan Prescott is a punk.
Somehow I'm always surprised when I find out that Ashley Burch is the person who did voice acting for a character.
Who you're messing around with?
Where'd you get that? What are you doing? Come on, put that thing down!
Don't ever tell me what to do! I'm so sick of people trying to control me!
You are going to get in hella more trouble
this is the game's
than
indication that
drugs.
shit is actually going to get real, despite this high school setting.
Get that gun away from me, psycho! No!
Actually, I appreciate that in a lot of ways this is a story about teenagers that is not rated, at least in the United States. Like, the content of this game is such that it would not normally be able to be marketed to teenagers.
How?
You know, there's
How
strong
can that be?
profanity, there's direct
bathroom.
sexual themes, violence, that
He
there's stuff
shot
that,
that poor
you know, is
girl.
part of the teen experience, but that they're sort of
held my
told
hand.
you're not old enough to have.
And then
Like,
I was back here.
it was always this realization when you show up to high school that, like,
I already
if the
heard
first
this
5
lecture.
minutes of your day were filmed and released into theaters, you wouldn't be able to go see it.
Hassled again.
Yeah.
And if the
I think
tourist
what makes this game
phone
interesting is, like,
This is
having just played through Night in the Woods, I feel that Night in the Woods
Give me
is
an
like
example of a
a
photography.
coming-of-age story from an adult's perspective,
Condition in black and
and
white.
like something like Oxenfree
if I'm
is a
crazy,
coming-of-agey
I might as
thing
well go
written
all the
as
way.
young adult fiction. This
Can I
is
actually
a
rehearse
coming-of-age
time?
story written
Why are
by adults
Because there are
as
images
not
of
not
hopeless
as
faces.
young adult
You
fiction,
feel, like,
but
totally haunted by
teenage years as teenagers would see them, if that makes any sense. Like, it's not young adult fiction, and it's not, you know, looking back on your childhood. It is how would kids actually see and experience stuff, with the swearing and the violence and things like that would actually happen.
Perfectly captured.
Not that people get shot every day, but you know what I mean.
Anybody?